Who Killed Who in Scream 7, a deep dive into Pine Grove's first ever Ghostface killing spree.
You're watching Pine Grove with Marcus James, Channel 6.
I shot him 6 times, echoes in the night, still he kept moving, something ain't right. Shells hit the concrete, blood on the line, fear in the air, yeah, it's horror time. Welcome to the channel where the shadows stay alive. Sit back, hit subscribe.
What's going on, horror fanatics? I'm Marcus. Welcome to our Shot 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. In this video, I'm going to be discussing Scream 7, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts in regards to who killed who, which killer is responsible for the deaths that happened in this movie. I will be giving you guys in-depth detail in regards to why I believe these killers are responsible for certain characters' deaths within the film. If you're a fan of Scream and other horror movie related content, please shoot this video a like, as well as when the video ends, shoot the hype button. Both features help the channel and help the video out greatly. And if you happen to be a new viewer of this channel, shoot that subscribe button followed by the bell icon for all content updates. One of the most interesting things about the Scream franchise, in my opinion, is not just the killer reveals and their motives, but breaking down which killers were responsible for which characters' deaths. And the reason why I always found this interesting is, for the most part, Scream has done a good job in regards to explaining certain characters getting killed off by said killer that's outside of the actual motive and storyline. I always felt they kind of did a little bit of a good job of incorporating that within their killers. Prime example of that, Stu Macher killing off Casey Becker in Scream 1996. Yes, I believe it was Stu who killed Casey. Why? Because he was jealous that Casey broke up with him for Stephen Orff, and I believe he was madly in love with her, which would explain why she was targeted in the first film to begin with, explaining why Randy Meeks brought it up in the fountain scene. So just little tidbits like that in regards to our killers picking certain characters, certain victims to be killed off for their own personal reasons outside of the main motive of the story. I always found that fascinating. And you get a little bit of that in Scream 7, but actually when you do get that in Scream 7, it actually is more personal in regards to the killer. Like, it involves the killer's motive and story in regards to why they chose to kill the character that they killed. So without wasting any more time, let's get into who killed who in Scream 7. Scream 7 revealed 3 killers, with Jessica Bowden serving as the mastermind, along with Marco Davis and Carl Allen Gibbs serving as the accomplices. So some of you are probably wondering, why is there an image of Stu Macher in this overlay? Well, that's because I believe Stu Macher is the killer responsible for certain deaths in this movie. More specifically, the first 4 kills of the movie. I will go into great detail, explaining why I believe the statement to be accurate. The first 2 kills that I believe Stu Macher is responsible for in Scream 7 is the opening scene kills of Scott Madison. That took place at the old Macher residence in Woodsboro. I spoke about this detail that I caught while rewatching the film a couple of weeks ago in regards to Stu Macher being the only person that could be the one to kill the couple because of lines of dialogue that was spoken by Ghostface within a certain moment of that opening scene, being dialogue that was spoken during Casey Becker's opening scene in Scream 1996 that was not spoken during the retcon of Casey Becker's scene in Stab 1. I'm going to play the clips from Scream 1996, Scream 7, and Stab 1 for further context.
I am 2 seconds away from calling the police.
They'd never make it in time. Hey, we're not finished yet.
They'd never make it in time.
Scott!
We're not finished yet.
Hello?
Hello?
Who is this?
Guess.
No, really, who is this?
Were you expecting somebody?
No. Who is this?
Who would you like it to be?
I don't like games. Who is this?
Look out back. You see your boyfriend anywhere?
I don't even have a boyfriend right now.
Would you like one? What do you say? Come on. Can't cut your tongue.
You know, I don't even know you, and I dislike you already.
As y'all just heard, the line of dialogue that I'm referring to in Scream 7 is when Ghostface says they never make it in time and we're not finished yet, a callback to Scream 1996. In that moment, the animatronic Ghostface has been replaced with the actual killer underneath the robe, reciting those lines of dialogue. Why this cannot be Jessica, Marco, or Carl is because, as y'all just heard, those lines of dialogue were not spoken during the retcon scene of Casey's death in Stab 1, which is where the trio would know that dialogue from had it been spoken, meaning only someone who was present during that night in 1996 would know to say that. Gail, Sydney, nor anyone else would know that line of dialogue because they weren't present during that particular scene to hear that dialogue. It's not like the hallway scene in Stab 1 that is a mirror image of the same scene in Scream 1996 because Sydney was present for that scene to be incorporated into the movie, but more importantly, she is alive to discuss that particular scene in order for them to recreate it in a movie. Only someone who is alive from that opening scene of Scream 1996 would know that line of dialogue. Billy, Casey, and Steve are all definitively dead. Stu Macher's dead or alive status has always been in question for the most part, and when you think about the fact that they shot a coda ending of Stu being revealed alive, I think you can make the argument that the way the film is shot, even the final draft of the movie that we got to see in theaters, the movie that we're going to be seeing on digital and in streaming, they shot it with the intention of him actively killing as if they were going to pull the trigger and reveal that he is alive. The third and fourth deaths of the film that I believe Stu is responsible for is the deaths of Aaron and Hannah at the high school theater. Now, I know creators want fans to believe that this is one of the three killers revealed in the movie, using AI Stu Macher to call Sydney in the build up to these kills. However, there is something that I want to talk about that will lead into explaining why this is actually Stu in this moment and not any of the other three killers. Now, I want to credit Beyond the Mask channel for first mentioning this in one of his videos, but apparently there was a scene that was cut from the movie where we would have seen Stu Macher interact with Mark Evans, Sydney's husband, via FaceTime call in the aftermath of Aaron and Hannah's death at the theater. In the script, the dialogue between the two was said to be this: Mark, it's not Stu. He's buried in Woodsboro. There's no way he's really alive. Sydney's phone rings with an incoming FaceTime call. She and Mark exchange a glance before she looks at the screen. Woodsboro, California. She shows Mark before activating the recording app again. Sid answers. Once again, Stu's face appears. Mark is taken aback. Stu. Hi, Sid. Oh, hey, is this baby daddy? What a treat it is to meet you, sir. The man who ruined Sidney Prescott's life. The reason I'm bringing this scrap line of dialogue to everyone's attention is because it's clear in this scene, had they would have kept it, that this would have been Jessica using AI Stu in this moment while speaking to Mark and not Stu Macher himself. The line of dialogue where AI Stu refers to Mark as the man who ruined Sidney's life proves it's Jessica because her motive behind her actions stemmed from Sydney choosing her family over going to New York for the previous Ghostface killing spree. So her referring to Mark in this way hints at the fact that she blames him for Sydney's absence. Why that scrap scene and phone call is important in regards to the first phone call that takes place at the theater is because it doubles down on the fact that there is a clear difference between which calls are AI Stu and the real Stu. For example, during the second phone call, Stu looks more AI and behaves more femininely than he did during the first phone call, which signals that this is Jessica during this moment during the phone call using Stu behind the AI mask. However, during that first phone call at the theater, the dialogue that is spoken by Ghostface and Stu when he appears via FaceTime doesn't add up with Jessica, Marco, or Carl's characters if it is supposed to be AI. Ghostface mentions growing up in Woodsboro with Sydney. The film itself never confirms where Jessica, Marco, or Carl are from. Ghostface also mentions they're in Pine Grove for Sydney because she was missed in New York, citing the murder sprees aren't the same without her presence. Now, some will say that sounds like Jessica speaking in that moment, given what her motive was, but I think that this was a subtle reference to the killer who almost killed Gail in New York, being the same killer who is calling Sydney in this moment, because if you recall, the killer who calls Gail's house phone in Scream 6 called from an actual Woodsboro area phone number. Radio silence confirmed the Bailey family to be from the Midwest, so it couldn't be any of them calling Gail during that scene. In Scream 7, the calls that come from Woodsboro are made to be believed as a spoof location created using the AI model that the killers are using. and Jessica didn't choose to become a killer until after the New York murders took place, because she wouldn't have known Sydney wasn't going to show up in New York for that killing spree, which means the calls that come from Woodsboro in Scream 6 during Gail's attack scene would not be Jessica, because it wouldn't make sense for it to be, given what we know about the character. But the most damning piece of dialogue that proves that the first phone call is actually Stu Macher and not any of the other three killers is when Sydney accuses Ghostface of hiding behind a fake number and voice changer. Ghostface responds by saying, "I'm not hiding, Sydney, not this time." Jessica herself admits to checking into Fallbrook Psychiatric Hospital as a way to get closer to Sydney. She even ended up moving right next door to her, proving her intentions was never to hide from Sydney like Ghostface insinuates during that first phone call. It would make no sense for Jessica to insinuate that she's been in hiding in any shape, way, or form when her actions and own words prove the opposite. In regards to why this isn't Marco or Carl during this scene calling Sydney, there's also the line of dialogue from Stu during the FaceTime call where he says, "I'm gonna have to agree to disagree," in response to Sydney saying, "Nice try, Stu Macher is dead." Marco says during his reveal that believing Stu to be alive would be dumb. So him saying he'd have to agree to disagree about Stu being dead when Sydney mentions it wouldn't make sense, because as I've stated in previous videos and streams, his and Jessica's intentions for using AI Stu wasn't to make Sydney believe Stu Macher was alive. They just used AI Stu for nostalgia purposes and mental warfare. As for Carl, homie didn't utter one word in the moments that we've seen him on screen, which makes me believe he was nothing more than a silent destroyer, aka the Michael Myers of the trio. So it wouldn't make sense for him to be the one using AI Stu or making the phone calls, because it doesn't fit what we know about the character. When it comes to the way Aaron and Hannah were killed, I think both resemble kills that are believed to be committed by Stu Macher in the first movie. We see Ghostface clutch both hands on the handle of the knife like Stu does in the original film, but more importantly, Hannah was found hanging in the air with her insides on the outside, similar to how Casey Becker was found in the first movie. Principal Hembry was also hung on a goalpost of the football field after being killed in his office, with many fans believing Stu being the one who killed him, which could imply that Stu likes to see his victims hanging in the aftermath of killing them. Aaron was killed how Kenny the cameraman was killed in the first movie, with his throat being slashed, and we know it was Stu who killed Kenny that way because he mentions checking to see if Gail was dead after she crashes the news van, which means Stu was the one running around outside chasing Sydney when she ran into Kenny at the news van while Billy was playing dead upstairs. With all that said, I think the evidence is overwhelming that the first 4 kills of Scream 7 were committed by Stu Macher himself, not Jessica, Marco, or Carl, like the creators want us to believe. And when you think about the scrapped ending with Stu Macher being revealed alive, it's safe to say at this juncture, the film was shot as if Stu was going to be revealed alive and actively killing, but working separately from the trio that were revealed, given what Marco says in his monologue regarding Stu's dead or alive status. Now, that's not to say any of the others didn't get in on the action, because I'm going to credit Jessica being the killer responsible for the deaths of Chloe and her own son Lucas at Parker's Tavern. I think it's fairly easy to point out that this is Jessica as the killer during the scene, because it makes sense for her character to be the one to kill her own son, given her explanation for his death in her monologue in the final act. Her being the one to kill him aligns with how twisted she portrayed herself to be at the end, while also tying into her motive and intentions of releasing all of the baggage from her past and starting over with Tatum. As a side note, though it is not an official kill, I do believe Jessica was the one who almost killed Mark in the garage. Carl was already dead at that point, and Marco was 3 hours away at Fallbrook, so it makes perfect sense that this would be Jessica, since she did live next door and she had access to their house. They should have kept the phone call interaction between Jessica as AI Stu Macher and Mark, where she blames him for ruining Sydney's life. It would have made her almost killing him hit so much harder, because it ties in nicely with the dialogue that was spoken in that moment in regards to holding him accountable for Sydney attempting to move on from her trauma. And to encapsulate this Who Killed Who in Scream 7 video, I'm going to say it was Marco who killed off Ben in the middle of Tatum's chase scene. We know Jessica was occupied killing Lucas and Chloe at Parker's. We also know Marco was the one who chased Tatum into the coffee shop, because we know he's the Ghostface that she shot while there, meaning he was the one chasing her throughout the entirety of that scene, so it makes sense that he would be the one to kill Ben in the process of hunting Tatum down. When it comes to Carl, though he was already a confirmed serial killer before helping Jessica and Marco, I think it's safe to say after everything I discussed here in this video that he didn't have any kills as Ghostface, just an attack sequence. I believe he was nothing more than a character who was supposed to mirror and homage Michael Myers, not just because we never heard him speak, but because much like Michael in Halloween 1978, he killed 3 women before being admitted to Fallbrook Psychiatric Hospital. Scream 7 is littered with Halloween homages throughout the film, and I believe Carl himself is one of them. Now, I know some of you will not agree with my assessment in this video in regards to who killed who in Scream 7, and that's more than fine. I don't expect everyone to agree. However, when you take into account how the movie was filmed and the Scrap Schumacher ending, where he would have been revealed alive, ending the movie on a cliffhanger, I feel it's safe at the very least to assume Scream 7 was an upgraded version of Scream 6 in regards to having 2 different mastermind killers with different motives going after the same target. Why I say Scream 7 would have been an upgraded version of 6 in regards to this angle is because with Schumacher alive, we'd be following one of these killers into the next movie, while also having them actively killing during this movie, something Scream 6 teased at the beginning with Jason Carvey's character to an extent before killing him off moments later. Kevin Williamson has been on record saying Scream 6 is one of his favorite sequels in the entire franchise, so it's not surprising to me, after rewatching 7 many times now, that he shot Scream 7 how Scream 6 was shot, with the 2 mastermind angle, only he chose to go further with the idea, only to not follow through entirely in the end. But okay everyone, that is it for this Who Killed Who in Scream 7 video. Leave a comment down in the comment section below with your thoughts and opinions. Who do you think killed who in Scream 7? If you're a fan who believes Schumacher's character was only AI in this film, then let me know what kills you think Jessica, Marco, and Carl are responsible for. If you're a fan who agrees with my assessment on the topic and believe the things done with Stu in 7 was set up to further explore and expand upon in Scream 8, let me know how you would like to see the new writers behind Scream 8's film approach the narrative of Schumacher being alive. Once again, I am Marcus and this is iSham 6 Times YouTube Horror Movie Channel. Follow me on all of my social media platforms. Thank you all for watching.